Hello students, welcome back. Today we'll be learning about the chapter Life Processes in detail. So let's start. What are life processes? Life processes are the vital functions or the important functions that are performed by the body. And why are these life processes performed? These are performed in order to maintain the body, and in turn these life processes provides the survival of the organisms. It basically supports the survival of the organisms. Now there are mainly four different types of life processes that takes place inside our body. First is the nutrition. Second is the respiration, third is the transportation, and fourth and the last one is the excretion. We'll be learning about them one by one. Okay, nutrition. We define nutrition as the process by which living organisms take in food and further utilize that food for their growth and development. Now, for performing any kind of activities like running, driving a car, or even sleeping, certain amount of energy is required. And from where do you get that energy? You get that energy from the food that you eat. Okay? Now, the source of energy can be different. It can be a simple source of energy, or it can be a complex source of energy. Now, all of the food that is present is basically made up of a carbon source. Okay, now the mode of nutrition is the process by which the food is taken in, and this mode of nutrition is basically of two types. First is the autotrophic nutrition and second is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. I'll tell you one by one. Now first, autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic is made up of two words. Auto means self, while trophic means nutrition. The organisms that are self-sufficient and they prepare their own food without taking help of any other organisms are called as the autotrophs. The green plants and the cyanobacteria. And green plants are the very fine examples of the autotrophs. Now, so raw materials are required for the preparation of food. And what are these raw materials in case of autotrophic organisms? These are the carbon dioxide and water. And the food material that is synthesized is basically a carbohydrate. It is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now I'll be telling you about an important process named photosynthesis that mainly occurs inside the green plants and cyanobacteria. Now, this word photosynthesis is made up of two words. First is photo, that means light, and synthesis means to put together or simply synthesize mainly food in this case. Now, what happens in photosynthesis? The solar energy is converted into the chemical energy. The solar energy from the sun is converted into the chemical energy. And what is this chemical energy? It is the carbohydrate that is synthesized. Now, where does this photosynthesis takes place? It takes place inside an important cell organelle that are the chloroplasts. These chloroplasts are present on the lower epidermis of the leaf. Now, other important points related to these photosynthesis are the carbon dioxide. Now, this carbon dioxide serves as the main raw material for this process. Another raw material is the water molecules. Now, when the light falls on the surface of the leaf, the chlorophyll that is present inside the chloroplast, it absorbs the light energy in the form of photons. Okay, and what happens? One important reaction takes place called as the photolysis of water. Water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Now we write it as H2O. In the presence of light, this water molecules breaks down into H plus and OH minus ions, and the carbon dioxide further forms the glucose, that is the main source of energy for the plants. Now this is the plant. Okay, it is getting energy from the sun, and the leaves, the chloroplasts present in the leaves, they absorb this light. These are present mainly on the lower epidermis of the leaves. Now the air is also having this carbon dioxide, and the water is absorbed from the soil. So this plant is getting all the raw materials. It is getting the source of light, it is getting the carbon dioxide, and it is also getting water. Now photosynthesis reaction is going to take place. We'll write the reaction for it. 6 molecule of carbon dioxide and 6 molecule of water combines in the presence of chlorophyll and light energy to form glucose molecule, that is C6H12O6, and 6 molecules of oxygen is released. Make it a point that this oxygen is the main byproduct of this photosynthesis reaction, and this oxygen is that which we inhale, and all the living organisms inhale this particular oxygen during their process of respiration. Now this oxygen is only responsible for maintaining the ecological oxygen balance, like the earth is the planet which supports life, and it is because of oxygen. This is the oxygen released by the plant which helps in the survival of living organisms. So that is why we are advised to plant more and more number of trees, so that this oxygen ecological balance can be properly maintained. Okay, this is the structure of the chloroplasts. It is the site of photosynthesis. Now it has an outer membrane and inner membrane. Now these stack-like structures, stack means one above the another, that is situated, these are called as the grana. Okay, while the fluid-filled space, it is called as the stroma. Now the process of photosynthesis is mainly studied under two important reactions. First is the light reaction, and the second is the dark reaction. Now this light reaction takes place inside this granum. What happens when the light energy is absorbed by these grana? This hydrogen molecule, it splits up into hydrogen, water molecule splits up into hydrogen and OH minus ions. And now next what happens is, important low energy is required. Low energy molecules are created. What are those? These are the NADPH and the ATP. So, two low energy molecules, that is the NADPH and ATP, that are synthesized during the light reaction that takes place inside the grana. Now comes the turn of dark reaction. It takes place inside the stroma. Okay. The Kelvin cycle operates. Here what happens? The sugar molecules are formed, that is mainly C6H12O6 glucose. The glucose is mainly formed in the dark reaction. This was about the light and the dark reaction. Another important point to be noted is that how this raw material, that is carbon dioxide, is taken inside the leaf. That is because of the guard cells of the stomata. Now, a leaf has many hundred to thousand number of stomatas that are present on its surface. Now, what happens when the stomata opens up? It allows the inward movement of air. Now, when does it opens up? It opens up by absorbing the water and it swells up, resulting in the formation of a pore. And in this pore, the gases are allowed to enter. The reverse happens in case of closure of stomata. Now, the water is released and this allows the stomata or the gas cells to shrink. This shrinkage allows this pore to get closed and this guard cells, they come together and close this pore. Okay, and hence the stomata closes. Now, we know the importance of carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll. All these are required for the process of photosynthesis. So, we can perform an activity to check that the chlorophyll is necessary for this process of photosynthesis. What you can do is, you can select a plant with variegated leaf and place it in dark, mainly the leaves of money plant, and crotons are used for this purpose. Now, after placing them in dark for 2 to 3 days, you can again place them in light. While placing them in dark, what will happen? All the starch will get used up. Now, when you will observe a leaf, suppose I am drawing it, this is a leaf. Somewhere you will find a green area and somewhere you will find this yellow patches. Okay, what you will next you have to do is to dip this leaf in boiling water, and after some time you just take out that leaf and again place that leaf in a beaker that is containing alcohol, and again you have to boil. Make sure that you place the leaf inside a beaker that contains the alcohol and then place that beaker inside a water bath. Make sure that this alcohol is highly inflammable. So, water bath should be used for this boiling purpose. Okay, after boiling it for 10 to 15 minutes, you have to perform the iodine tests. For this iodine test, mainly potassium iodide solution is needed. Okay, suppose these are the green areas, I am marking it with checks, and the yellow areas of the leaf I am just keeping it like that only. After performing the iodine test, what will you observe? You will see these green areas. After getting dipped into the iodine solution, these will turn blue-black, while no change will be observed in the color of these areas that are devoid of chlorophyll. Now, these areas were green because chlorophyll was present. in them. Okay, so this chlorophyll containing areas were able to prepare their own food when they were kept under sunlight, and the starch was formed. By undergoing the iodine test, the conformation of starch was done, and similarly this area that was not having chlorophyll, it doesn't give a positive response to this iodine test. So this is the activity performed to check that how chlorophyll is important for this process of photosynthesis. Next, we will be performing an activity to check the importance of chlorophyll, that is to see how CO2 is necessary for photosynthesis. Okay, for this you can take two potted plants that is of same size, means it should have same height and same number of leaves comparatively. Now you can place two of them in the dark room, and next what you can do is that you can again bring them back to light. Suppose this is my setup. I am drawing two plants. These are the two potted plants. I am labeling them as pot A and pot B. Okay. Now, beside one of the potted plant, I will keep a watch glass containing KOH, and finally I will cover both of them with a bell jar. The purpose of covering both the plants with the bell jar is that so as this experiment can be performed under controlled conditions. Now, we are keeping this plant under the sunlight. What will happen is that this KOH will absorb all the carbon dioxide that is present inside this plant B setup, while this plant A setup will be having the required amount of CO2. Again, we have to perform this iodine test to check the presence of starch. Now, what will you observe in these two cases? You have to pluck the leaves from plant A and plant B. Now, this plant A will show a positive response, means the color of the leaf will turn blue-black. While in case of plant B, it will not show any change in color, because the KOH has been placed beside plant B. This KOH will absorb all the carbon dioxide that is present in this setup. So, by performing this activity, you can make out that how carbon dioxide is required for this important process of photosynthesis. This was about autotrophic nutrition. Now, you will be learning about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Hetero means different, and trophic means nutrition. Now, the organisms that depend upon another organisms for their food are called as heterotrophs. Now, this mode of nutrition can be studied under three modes, that is holozoic, saprozoic and parasitic mode of nutrition. First is the holozoic mode of nutrition. Now, what happens in this mode? The complex food material is taken in, and the further digestion of these complex food material into simpler compounds takes place inside the body of the organisms. Now, this process of breaking down of the complex molecule into simple molecules involves 5 different steps. These are ingestion. Ingestion means simply taking in of the food particle. Second is the digestion. This involves the digestion of all the required nutrients from that food particle. Absorption, it means the absorption of all the nutrients inside the intestine. Assimilation means the derivation of energy of the food inside the body. And the metabolic waste, that are the end products of metabolic activities go inside the body, needs to be excreted out, and that is done by the process of excretion. Now, the main organisms that perform holozoic mode of nutrition are the amoeba and most of the vertebrates, including humans. We humans also utilize this holozoic mode of nutrition.